It looks like we are on. All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Powerful People series. We are really excited today to kick off Parkinson's Awareness Month with we've been doing themes every week, or we're planning themes every week. And so it's Move, Shout, Balance, Connect. And we thought it would be perfect to have David Leventhal join us today to kick off the beginning of the month. And you can see Nancy Bain is on with us. And David, thanks for being with us today. And Nancy.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nina, for the invitation. And it's great to be with both of you.
Yeah, this is so exciting. So I just wanted to give a little introduction about you, David, to the audience. We know you're the program director and the founding teacher of Dance for PD, which offers an internationally acclaimed dance classes for people with Parkinson's in Brooklyn and through your whole network of partners throughout the country, throughout the world. I know on your website, it says since 2007, you have dramatically impacted the Parkinson's community by teaching more than 1,500 instructors in the Dance for PD approach in 25 cities around the world. I know you've received numerous accolades, including the 2016 World Parkinson's Congress Award for Distinguished Contribution to Parkinson's, to the Parkinson's community, which we were thrilled to be there when you received that. You're a distinguished speaker and advocate for Parkinson's. And on a more personal note, I just can't thank you enough for and feel so honored that for all the advice that you've provided for myself and for Susan and Nancy over the years. Your guidance has been just invaluable. So it's done so much for us and really helped Power for Parkinson's grow. And we just value so much of what you have to offer and all you've done for the Parkinson's community. And I just want everyone to realize that David has really, truly been instrumental in raising awareness about the benefits of dance, of movement, of social interaction, in improving the well-being of people with Parkinson's. And I know everybody's really in for a treat to learn more about Dance for PD and to really enjoy like a special movement sequence led by a true master. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Wow, thank you for that intro. I better just stop there because I can't match the
oh yes, you can. I know you can.
Well, thank you. It's very, very generous, and I'm so impressed and admiring of all the work that you have done in Austin and beyond. I think one of the things we've seen during the last year is how really high quality local programs can generously share programming with a much wider audience through technology. And I've seen Power for Parkinson's do that so brilliantly and without losing sight of your local mission. So hats off to you and the team for all of the incredible work you've done.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. But the feeling is mutual. Well, let's get started here. And why don't we just start? And I know a lot of people do know about Dance for PD. And of course, people have been dancing with Nancy for many years. And she's trained with you. And she teaches our rhythm and moves class. But can you tell us about Dance for PD and your mission? I know that's a big chunk, but
I can do it. I can condense it. I think it's also important to note this. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary in October. Wow. So 2007 was when we started training for other teachers and really thinking about expanding. But we offered our first class October of 2001. And I think we have to think back to that time where the landscape of Parkinson's activities was fairly barren. There wasn't a lot out there for people to do. even a few years before that, physical activity had been frowned upon, had been counterindicated by neurologists. They were concerned about fall risk and injury. And so, you wouldn't necessarily encourage somebody with Parkinson's to go out and exercise or to participate in a dance class. So we were really on the cusp of a major shift that was fueled both by research into the value and benefits of physical activity for people with Parkinson's, and and better treatment, in which we see people living longer and therefore wanting more resources, wanting more things to do to maintain well-being and quality of life. I just put out the question of, why dance for Parkinson's? At the time when we started, there was not a lot of community-based activities for people living with Parkinson's, and especially not dance. I think for a lot of people, dance seemed like a scary, inaccessible activity that required you to be in rhythm and on one specific foot and to coordinate a lot of different movements. And those are all things that are challenging for everybody, but particularly people living with Parkinson's. The visionary behind this program, a woman named Ole Westheimer, thought otherwise. She really felt like actually the skills that dancers work on to achieve, performance and sustain their careers are incredibly valuable for people living with Parkinson's. When you think about what dancers do in terms of, being able to shift weight, being able to find their balance dynamically at any time, being able to express ideas and stories with their bodies, coordinating different kinds of movement at the same time, dealing with different movement qualities, integrating music and rhythm as a driving force behind movement. All of these things are elements of movement that can be difficult for Parkinson's, people living with Parkinson's, but are so important for us to work on. And what dance does is it kind of packages those elements into a really delicious and enjoyable experience so that you don't necessarily feel like you're exercising. Not that there's anything wrong with some people really love that feeling, but others need a little more motivation to work on some of those motor skills. And we were also saying that in addition to those very tangible kind of motor skills like balance, flexibility, coordination, rhythm, using different parts of the body, spatial awareness, there are also elements of a dance experience that are about social interaction, self-confidence, right? The feeling that self-efficacy, the feeling that one can do something successfully, and mood elevation. So these are all elements of a dance experience that dancers rely on and have known for many decades, centuries, but people living with Parkinson's now are able to come in and experience those same benefits. So something like confidence. When we come in and we say, we're going to work on a tap activity together, people say, I can't do tap. That looks really complicated. The way that Nancy or I might break that down to make it accessible and enjoyable for you means that you actually get to do tap dance and get to experience the joy of that form and the confidence that comes from learning something new. I think the other really important driving factor, which I mentioned already, but it really underpins everything we do, is music. And not just music as like a background sort of to distract you from something that might be not that interesting, but actually music as a tool that supports movement rhythmically, melodically, harmonically, emotionally, right? When you're invested in a piece of music, whether it reminds you of something or it's something you really love listening to, you want to move to it. You want to engage in it. You want to express something to that music using your body. So music is an incredible tool, and we use it as a fundamental building block of all aspects of our class. And I thought actually I would just give you a little example, because I think there are really four ways that we ask our participants to think like a dancer. And these are things that you can do in your daily life, whether or not you're actually in a class. So I always like to think that wherever you are in the world, you can put on your dancer cap and you can use these skills. So the first one is imagery, right? Using imagery to support your movement. So dancers do this all the time because we're not just thinking about the what of the movement, we're thinking about the how. How am I going to do this movement? What am I trying to say with this movement? You can kind of think about it like an actor, right? An actor is not just reading lines, they are investing motivation and meaning behind those lines. That is exactly what's happening in dance. It's just that it's movement instead of words, right? So if I were to take a very basic movement like this, which you might do in an exercise class, right? And I could just, in an exercise class, I might say, well, we're going to do 4 of those in each direction, right? Just getting your wrists moving and your fingers moving, okay? Right? So that's a nice stretch. Then I might say, let's think about just flipping your hands a little bit. Some of you might have to do this when you go see your neurologist as well, right? Flipping your hands, just getting that rotation. I'm thinking about this very mechanically now, okay? And then let's just take a moment. We could just stretch our hands forward, just reaching energy through your fingers, just stretching, getting all that tension out. Yeah. So I've taken some mechanical cues, but what if I start to think about imagery? So for example, I'm gonna put an image on the screen here, and I want you to just take a moment to look at this. Beautiful, beautiful dolphins diving, right? And now I'm gonna put one more image, and it's this one. You're on stage, right? So I have those 2 images now that I can work with. Let's think about that movement as those 2 dolphins diving. So it's not just a wrist move, it's actually a dive, right? It changes the quality of your movement. You think about the curve. You think about what it might feel like to put your hands into water, right? And then when I think about that theater, I'm not just stretching my arms out as kind of these limbs sticking out, but I'm actually reaching my whole energy to that back balcony. And that changes everything about how I am projecting my chest, my face. I might even have facial expression because I'm imagining that I'm reaching out to an audience. So how might you reach out to an audience and project? Okay. So again, I'm using now the elements of imagery, the dolphin, and performance or projection, thinking about allowing my movement to speak out to an audience. How does that change the way you feel about your movement? Well, it takes it from being internal, this kind of internal stretch, to being external, to reaching beyond your own bubble and out to the world. There are 2 other elements that I think are really important and you can use those skills anytime. You have trouble with something at home, think about an image for it, right? What image might work? Maybe it's you get tight at one point or you turn a corner in your home. You can think about, as you turn the corner, there's an incredibly beautiful view out that window. So you're not nervous about the corner, you're anticipating it and you're taking it slowly, and then there's this incredible thing around the corner. So you can apply that to anything in your life. 2 other things. One is what I would call sequencing. This is something that dancers do that's a really useful skill for you in your daily life. So sequencing is like creating a movement sentence. So I'm not thinking of these moves in isolation. Remember, we just did 4 in a row, right? Each move is separate and not connected. In dance, we're really interested in creating a sentence of movement to create these what we call phrases, very much like a musician. And when you hear a good singer, that singer is thinking of the overall phrase, not just the individual notes, right? You've heard this if you have kids who are learning an instrument. At the beginning of that stage, they play each note like it's a separate note, right? 3 blind mice, da, da, da. But as they get more advanced, da, da, dee, da, da, it starts to get phrased. They start to think about it as a whole sentence. And that's exactly what we want to do with movement. So we might think about this as a dip, dip. Here's a gift being offered to you, and you're going to bring it back to your heart. So I'm now adding all of those movements together, dip, dip, and bring it back. And then I can go into my next part and do my reaches to my audience, and I can circle and come back. I've created a whole sentence with those moves so that everything feels like it flows into the next thing. For folks who have challenges dealing with the sense of flow in their movement, thinking about your movement like a sentence can really help, right? So dipping, opening, come back. That's my first clause, a little comma there. My second statement, and now I have my third one, and now I'm ready to wrap up my whole sentence. I reach and I circle around. And now the fourth element, you guessed it, it's music. So music kind of ties all these things together, the imagery, the sequencing, the phrasing, and our projection, because music gives importance and value to our movement and tells us exactly how to do it. So I'm actually going to share a little music, the original music for this choreography, which is by Mark Morris. So you're learning a little Mark Morris repertory, and from a bourrée that Mark choreographed for a project he did with Mr. Yo-Yo Ma, the great cellist. So this is to the third suite for unaccompanied cello by Johann Sebastian Bach, who just celebrated a birthday a couple days ago. And you'll hear in this music the phrasing that we just did. So the music is there to support us and carry us along. Let's try this all together. I think this is going to play. Let's see. You can try it with me if you'd like. Yeah. So you can see that all of those things we talk about are kind of woven together in this integrated feeling of movement. Right? There's no separation between, the physiological elements, the music, the flow. It's all kind of wrapped up into one. And that's the magic of dance. That's the thing that dancers think about, is how can we create a seamless, integrated experience with our bodies. And I think that's what makes dance so valuable for people living with Parkinson's. It gives you that feeling of being unified, of being coordinated, of being musical. I think about the famous book by Oliver Sacks, which became a movie, Awakenings. And in that book, one of the people who is dealing with Parkinsonian symptoms is not actually Parkinson's, because it was from an encephalitic virus that was common in that period in the 30s. But this person talks about being unmusicked in her body. She feels like music has been taken out. And I love the idea that what Nancy and I are doing is helping people re-music their bodies, because music is, just such a powerful tool to create a sense of flow and unity in our bodies. So that's just a little example of the sort of what dance tries to layer on top of some basic elements of movement and make it truly a special and motivating experience.
Well, okay, 1 second here. Well, I love your description, and it's just so incredible what you've done. And I've seen, of course, Nancy in action and so many of our participants, and the magic that she's been able to create in so many performances. And your description is just, I hope that encourages people to think more about dance too. And I love the way you explain it. And I know that from the very beginning, you've said you don't have to be a dancer, that anyone can do it. I'm not a dancer, but I've taken a few of your short classes, and I know that you could do something for sure. You could bring it out in anybody. Yeah, so.
Absolutely. And Oli, when she came to us, she said, I just want to emphasize that first and foremost, dancing is a mental activity. So it's about a mindset and a way of approaching movement that anyone can do. It's not so much about coming in with, physical experience or having a dance background in any way. It's really about, again, that's why I like to emphasize this idea of thinking like a dancer and using those strategies. And in our classes, we use many different styles. I think that's the other thing that differentiates this program, is that we draw from things that we think will be useful and enjoyable for people, and that's a very broad spectrum. So that's one of the things that makes it really enjoyable for people, because you might not like every single thing in the class, but there's going to be something, whether you're a Broadway fan, you'll do some Broadway stuff, or whether you love opera, you'll bring in something that's more classical. So there's something for everyone. And that's really what we try to listen to the community. I know Nancy does this beautiful job of this, really listening to what people like and what motivates them, what styles they might be interested in, and adapt the class to meet those preferences.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that is really exciting. And we've seen that over the years, a whole variety of styles, and people really respond to it, which has been wonderful. I know doing it on Zoom is a little, adds that additional challenge, but have you found like a style over this period of time that's worked better for you than others?
Yeah, I mean, I've used a lot of different things. I find that things that are a little bit more open-ended work really well. So today we'll do a little sample of kind of an Argentine tango inspired activity where you have a little bit of choice around how you want to move and the speed you want to move, and it's somewhat flexible, which works well for Zoom because there can be a delay. There can be, people can get a little bit lost. I do try to also keep the movements quite simple on Zoom because it's very hard to learn dance from a screen. It's hard to learn anything from a screen. Yeah. So, and there are certain things I don't do in this medium where I don't do turns, whereas in the studio I do, safe turns. And I try not to do things that rapidly go from one idea to the next. So we'll sort of sit in one thing for a while, and then we'll go on to the next, and then we'll go on to the next, just to allow people to catch up and really have a sense of confidence and mastery. Really, those teaching ideas, they transfer over to the studio too. It's not only online, but I think those elements are exaggerated online.
Yeah, it definitely is. There is a difference. I know Nancy had a question for you. I know we're kind of a little bit tight on time, so we'll. Nancy, did you want to ask David?
Sure. Well, you've touched on so many wonderful things, David, and I'm actually taking some notes because the way you express everything is so wonderful and not only really to the point, but really encompasses the major concepts behind the wonderful use of dance for people with Parkinson's. And I so appreciate that. I keep trying to express that over and over again. One of the issues that I have faced over the years is the reluctance of some people to try dance classes, particularly men. Although I will have to say that, and I know several of my participants are listening, but most of the men, they are very, very devoted and terrific dancers, I have to say. But many of them have a music background. So it instinctively connects with them. And I'm wondering if you have something to say or some experiences in terms of trying to engage those who may be a little bit hesitant.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something we encounter a lot. I will find that once people get into the class, they're totally hooked on it, but it's that first step in and that perception that, that men are not going to step foot in a dance class. I think a lot of it, some of it has to do with the content that one is bringing in, and making sure that the content is either neutral in terms of where it's coming from, or how it's sourced, or what the story behind it is, or even is related to things that that everyone can associate with. Like we've done a whole dance just based on baseball, where we take the movements from baseball, pitching, swinging and hitting, running, sliding, and work that into a sequence with imagery and music that's really enjoyable. And then we'll do some improvisation behind that. So I think one of the keys is content, and making sure that content is going to be enjoyed by everybody. Another is just sort of an incentive or motivation. So often we will have an easier time if there's a partner or a friend who's kind of encouraging that person to come and join in, and often I think men come because their partner is encouraging them, or is attracted to it and has less anxiety or concern about it. And then I think it's just a question of, what are the images that you're putting out there? If you're marketing the class, making sure that there are men and women in the pictures, and so it really seems like everybody is welcome, and that there's opportunities for cross-pollination. So I do a lot of messaging around the fact that a lot of professional athletes, male and female, take dance at some part in their training to improve agility, balance, speed. Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, both took dance at some point in their training. A lot of football players take ballet to improve agility. So that's a known cross-training benefit. And I bring that in because a lot of people say, "Oh, don't worry, I do my boxing and my wife does the dance class." It's like, actually, boxers take dance and dancers box. It goes both ways. We need to cross-train that way. And people living with Parkinson's need to think of themselves as athletes. And so as athletes or as dancers, they need to cross-train. They need to do all of the above. It's not a one or the other.
Absolutely. I totally agree that, and the more variety that you can experience as a person with Parkinson's, I believe, and what I've seen is the more benefit you get.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've had boxing programs reach out to us and say, can you do like a 15-minute dance session before the boxing class? Because they find that it actually helps people find support and move their feet with more agility and confidence and weight shift. And so I think it all kind of works together. So
that's great.
Yeah. Well, I do love that message that you're sending, and for us, because we offer a variety of exercise types of classes, our strength and balance, a brain and body, move and shout, and the rhythm and moves, plus a more yoga type class. So we like to try to find that balance, and we really hope that everyone tries everything and will participate in all those different.
And singing.
And singing. And I forget singing. We have a vocal exercise singing class each week too. So we try to, reach a variety of different angles. But I think that the dance is one that some people are reluctant to try. But I hope those of you listening and haven't tried yet will certainly join Nancy and consider trying Dance for PD as well. And let's see, we have a couple questions, and I know we're running a little late, but one thing I just want to ask you, David, about our audience getting involved with your program and the availability. I know you offer your program for free like we do. So what would they need to do if they wanted to give a class a try?
Oh, it's really easy. So our classes are offered almost every day at different times a day. We want to make sure that whatever people's schedules are, we can meet them where they are. So I will post. I don't know if our chat goes out into YouTube. Does it? Probably not.
No, but we can put it in. I could put it in our chat, in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, so it's just our website is danceforpd.org, and you'll see in the upper right corner, you'll see a list of the week's classes and a link to our at-home page. And then once you're there, you'll just see a kind of like a calendar matrix of all the classes. And then we have a policy where you don't have to pre-register. You basically just click on the button of the class you want to take 15 minutes or less before the class. And then actually you fill out, name and email, and it pops you right into the Zoom meetup. So my classes are on Mondays at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern. And then there are wonderful classes all week. That we actually have what we call pro class, which is all standing. It's an all standing class for people who are comfortable with that environment. And that takes place Tuesdays at 4:30 Central. And we have another dance class Wednesday at 2 Central. Pamela Quinn, who is someone living with Parkinson's and a dancer, teaches Friday afternoons. Great teacher as well. We have a Pat Hall teaches a wonderfully very popular class on Saturdays. So some people don't have anything to do on Saturdays. It's I think at noon Central Time, and she draws from dances from the African diaspora. A lot of material from West African dance, Afro-Caribbean dance, really great class that Saturday. So there's a lot, and it's all free. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Well, let's see. If you don't mind, do you have a time for a couple questions before we do the movement? Let's see here. Well, our friend Robert, who is also one of Nancy's students. He, and this is actually along the lines of something I wanted to ask you as well, but he said, how much of the elements of the program are based on intuitive insights, like the dolphin analogy that relates to him, and how much in combination with hard data? And I just want to add on to that I know that you've been involved in a number of studies in the Dance for PD program. So maybe you can also just touch on that a little bit, and if there's anything else going on in the work.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. Thank you, Robert. So there are now 42 peer-reviewed published studies on the impact of dance on people with Parkinson's. Some of them are smaller scale, so small cohorts, but they all point to a range of benefits related to the motor and non-motor elements we were talking about. A lot of what we do in class is supported and backed by the research. We're doing it because it's what dancers do in their training, but we feel confident in doing it because it is supported by the research. So actually, mindful imagery and using imagery in the service of movement, there's quite a lot of research on that. Is there research specifically on dolphin imagery? Not so much, but on using imagery to support physical movement for athletes, for dancers, yes, there's quite a bit of work on that. There's a lot of research on the motor elements of what happens in the class, so weight shift, stride and gait speed. There's a lot of good research on that, probably more on the motor things than on the non-motor elements and sort of quality of life elements, but there's more. There's actually some really interesting recent research on cognitive improvement using dance class for people with Parkinson's. And that's something I'm really happy to see, because it makes sense intuitively that because dance is first and foremost a mental activity, that we're stimulating a lot of those cognitive skills through dance, but we hadn't seen a lot of research on it. And now there's a really good study from a team in Australia looking at cognitive data and improvement over the course of the dance experience that we're really happy to see.
Yeah.
So yes, it's pretty much everything we do is backed by the research, but our choice in including it always comes from an artistic perspective first, and then we're just making sure that yes, that is supported by the research. So it's more like we've been doing, dancers have been training this way for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, and the scientists are catching up to understand, particularly neuroscience is really interested in how dancers use their brains to process and execute movement. So they're kind of catching up and trying to figure out why we're able to do that and how it works and what elements of the brain are are working together to create this movement experience.
Yeah. I'm just so thrilled that the research is becoming, I don't know if it's mainstream, but it is becoming much more readily accessible, and people are believing in it. I know the neurologists and the movement disorder specialists really have embraced dance. They've embraced exercise as, essential for Parkinson's. So it's, and I know you were there at the ground floor, so that's been, I can't even imagine what that feels like for you. I mean, I know how it feels for us and just what we've seen in 8 years, but what you've seen in 20 is probably just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's, leaps and bounds from where we were. We started without any research basis, really. Just the thought that what dancers did and what dancers thought about might be valuable. And then over the years, more and more research supported that original hypothesis.
Yeah. So tremendous. Let's see, I think there's one more question here. And Jay from California, he says, I visualize better with my eyes closed, but closing my eyes can make me get off balance. Is there a way to improve my visualization without closing my eyes?
Yes, great question. So we do some activities with our eyes closed. The big secret to this is just be sure that you're seated for those visualizations, and make sure that you're using a wide base. So just to give you an example, here I have my chair behind me. So for closed eye visualization, I would not keep my feet here. I would bring my feet out here, and you have a full range of movement here. I actually use a swivel chair. So this I find very helpful because I can move all around, and in my visualizations, I have that support, but I also have a lot of flexibility. If I find myself going too far forward, well, because I have that wide base, I can always bring myself back. And so I would experiment with your visualizations seated to start. And then, of course, as you get more advanced and more confident, you can always use a chair, and the same principle, nice wide base. As long as you're holding onto that chair and the chair is nice and heavy and stable, you can do quite a bit here also with your eyes closed. But you want to make sure your chair's not going to tip, because some people with their eyes closed get carried away and they start to pull the chair off. So you might want to make sure it's really anchored, or even use something on the wall. And that's a great technique. Some people also will actually lean against the wall. I have a curtain here, so I'll just simulate it. But if you just bend your knees gently and lean into the wall, you can have a wonderful experience, kind of like a cat scratching its back. But there's a lot that you can do kind of against the wall with your eyes closed. And you always know where that wall is. So it'll give you a lot of support. So I hope that's helpful. Because yes, imagery, just having to rely on kind of that internal sense of movement is a really valuable skill. Just we don't always feel comfortable getting there because we need our eyes for balance.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. Well, since we're getting kind of late on time, and I think everybody would love to take see you conduct at least a short class for us. A movement sequence would be fantastic, but I just can't thank you enough for everything that you've done. And I know some people missed the introduction at the beginning, but, and hopefully we'll put that together, so people might want to go back and look at that again. And we'll put that together before we post the final version. But I'm going to spotlight you, David, and I'll let you get going.
Thanks so much. Well, it's my pleasure. I thought we would do just a little bit of movement together. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I thought maybe 3 or 4 things just to kind of have the experience, and maybe think about some of what we talked about, and see if it resonates in your own experience of dancing. So I'm just going to move back a tiny bit so you can see me. Everything that we're going to do right now, I'm going to do seated just for safety, but if you feel like you want to do it standing, you're welcome to do that. I can't actually see you. One of the nice things on Zoom is I can actually see folks and make sure that they're standing safely. But you know your own body, so if you want to do any part of this standing, you're welcome to. But I'm personally going to demonstrate seated today, just so we have that sense of support and security. So I'm going to start just with a very lovely kind of slow experience, just to start to get us moving in a space, and then we'll pick it up a notch just a little bit here. So let's start with this nice and slowly. And I'm just going to bring this on so that you can actually hear it. Okay. Just starting with a gentle circle of your torso, your spine, moving around. And can you, kind of like an octopus, can you allow your arm to be pushed by your spine? Not a big arm movement, but just feel the motivation from here, from your chest, from your back. Again, I'm moving all the way around the other direction now. And now I'm adding that arm floating around. Good, and just take a breath, allow your arms to come up a little bit and softening down. Now, like you're in a boat, just gently rocking side to side. Gently rocking, feeling your weight pouring. You can actually exaggerate that by pressing down. Pushing down into the floor, almost like your feet are making a pattern on the wet cement. Yeah, good. And now let that shift continue. Allow that energy now to flow into your arms. Just a gentle reach. Still feeling like you're on that rocking boat side to side. And now both arms reach. Hear those dolphins again coming into your shoulder. Coming to the front and pouring your heart forward. Like you're spilling out everything to the front. And now gathering that and reversing that energy all the way out. Again, gathering. Coming through. Elbows reach, expanding as wide as you can. Creating little circles from the bottom. It's almost like a fountain. And over time, that fountain gets a little bit higher. It bubbles up. And now both arms together. Fountain goes all the way up. A slow waterfall all the way down to the side. Good. Let's take our circles again, but let's integrate the arm right away. Like you're stirring a giant pot of soup. Beautiful. And reaching. Hear those dolphins coming into your shoulders, pouring forward, lifting. And we're going to pluck notes out of the air. You'll hear these notes. Ready? Pluck. Like raindrops. Find them and bring them in. Let's do that one more time. Plucking those drops. Very specific. Find those points in space, anywhere you want. Bring them in. Taking a deep breath, rising up through the center. And now on your own, I just want you to imagine your hand as a leaf. just allow that leaf to gently float around. Adding the other leaf. It's like a very gentle wind. A little gust. And allow those leaves to float down. Good. All right, great. So again, we're starting really gently. I think that's one of the things that we emphasize in dance is you don't just want to go into movement right away. You want to warm the body up. You want to start to make connections between things. So for example, the spine and the arm, right? The lower body and the upper body, everything starts to connect. Speaking of that, speaking of those circles, let's do another thing. This is borrowed vocabulary from Argentine Tango, which is actually a very popular form used with a lot of Parkinson's communities. What I like about it is there's a lot of improvisation in Argentine Tango. So I'm going to ask you to make up some patterns with your feet. You can think about circles. You can think about figure eights with your feet. If you want, you can sign your name with your foot or even just one letter. So for example, I'm going to do a D. Look something like that. Or I could do first letter of my last name, an L, right? So you can imagine the floor is a giant piece of paper and you're gently sketching. Well, in tango, these movements are called adorno. And the adorno are these little improvised elements, these expressive elements that you'll see tango dancers do it with their feet. A lot, all this jazz, right? So we're going to do that in a nice, gentle way with one side, with the other side. We're going to bring those adornos into our arms as well. And then we'll start to experiment with one arm and one leg moving. I'm in opposition here. And then we'll go into some nice direction. So forward, side, back, and side. Okay, so really strong reaches with the foot and the leg and the arm. And then we're just going to bring in a little cha-cha. So that goes slow, slow, quick, quick, slow. You can see we're already starting to walk here in class, right? We're already getting a walk, but it's all framed within the dance context. This is a cha-cha. 1, 2, cha, cha, cha. So I'm just alternating feet the whole time. Bum, bum, bum. I'm going to add one more surprise in there when we get there. So you're gonna grab an imaginary partner and you're gonna dip your partner. That's not a surprise anymore because I told you. Here we go. So starting with your adorno on one side, just allowing yourself to trace. Same thing on the other side. Can be a circle, can be a figure eight. See where you can go with it. Now bringing that movement up into your arm and hand. You can do anything you want with this as long as it has that quality of continuous movement. Now keep that arm going and add the opposite leg. Good, and now get ready to switch. Thinking like an accordion, so a lot of air and resistance. Let's reach to the front. And in. And side. And in. Here's where that accordion quality comes in. As I come in, I'm not rushing back, but I'm taking my time. Let's try that same quality with the other side. So I reach. And I reach to the side. Good, and I reach to the back just a little bit. It's always hard to move to the back in a chair, but it's possible. Let's go into our cha-cha. So this is a little bit more rhythmic. Step, step, cha, cha, cha. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Good, back to our points, a little faster now. same quality of movement. So expanding and retreating. All right, now nice wide base, taking your partner in your arms, and you're going to dip your partner over. Here's where that awareness of your base is really going to help you, because as I dip my partner, my weight comes forward, and then I'm going to push the floor to come back. So I have this wonderful sense of supporting my weight as my weight travels away from the center. And I can always come back to center by pushing into the floor, which is a really good awareness to have. Pushing into the floor and coming back. Let's do one more set. And let's come back to our Adornos, and let's do one whole side moving. So foot and hands are moving together, or they can separate a little bit too. They don't have to do exactly the same. Make it dramatic. As big as you can. Let's switch sides and... Right, go wild with it. Let it take you wherever you want to go, and you can add everything in. Yeah, good. All right, excellent. I'll take a pause there. How we doing?
I think you're doing great.
Okay.
I hope everyone was out there dancing with you.
Yeah. Listen, I have a few minutes. I'll do one more thing and then we'll wrap. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I was going to do a little Bob Wills, but I think because you get a lot of Texas stuff, I'm going to do a little West Side Story, a little New York export for my friends in Texas and beyond. So this is a little homage to West Side Story, and so the physicality of this is very different from what we just did. That's why I'm interested in bringing it in. This is much sharper. It's much more percussive. Think about that image we had of the stage, right, of the balcony back there. So all of these movements need to be read by the people who bought those $20 seats in the very back of the balcony. So don't hold back here. We want everyone to understand what those movements are, and we're going to take just some really nice strong pointing. So you can imagine: are you a shark or a jet? Whatever side you're on, you're going to be pointing accusingly at the other gang. All right. So send energy out of your fingertips. We're going to be taking a rhythm step. So we're going to open and step together. As I do that, I'm creating a little beat in my knees. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can also take that as a clap. All right. That's our rhythm step. We're going to take what I call splat walk. So if I were standing, it would look something like this. As I'm seated, same idea. I'm just really exaggerating the drop of my foot, and I have the opposite hand reaching front. See that? So my arms are kind of in an L shape, facing the floor like that. I'm going to expand, and I'm going to retreat, and I'm also going to expand and explode. Okay? Those are all of the ingredients. We're just going to kind of do a sentence of those into our West Side Story element, and then we'll wrap. All right, so you want to feel tough here. You want to feel grounded. What we mean by grounded is really connected to the floor, feeling your feet pressing down, feeling that connection to the earth. We are grounded, but we're always ready to shift and always ready to rumble in our characters here. And we have the wonderful Marianne McPartland, great jazz pianist, with her version of Cool. Really direct your points at different parts of the room. Think about all the space around you. Rhythm step. You can also go at this speed if that's more comfortable for you. Let's do our splat walks. This has the percussive quality of our cha-cha. anchoring both feet and expanding and retreating. You're not quite ready to rumble yet. And expanding. Good. Now let's expand and explode. Pow! Good. Again, expand. 2, 3, 4, pow! I like to make noise with this. If you're at home and you want to make noise, pow! Go for it. Expand. 2, 3, 4, pow! Back to the beginning, but faster. Keep that going. Rhythm step. Regular or faster, up to you. Splat walks. Keep it coming. Expand and retreat. One more. Good. Right back to the beginning. Point somewhere you haven't pointed yet before. Maybe behind you. Rhythm step. Splat walks. Expand. One slow motion explosion. Nice. Good. So I think you can see even within that faster dance, we get a whole set of qualities, right? And a whole different set of ways that we can play with a basic vocabulary of movement in terms of speed, in terms of attack, direction, level. That's one of the things I think that people love about the dance classes is that it really expands their movement vocabularies. It changes the way they think about dance and their own bodies and think about movement in general. And then they go out in the world and they're like, oh, I have all of these possibilities that I didn't know were available to me. And that is very empowering and I think liberating for a lot of our dancers with Parkinson's. So I'll stop there and just real gratitude to you and to everybody who joined us today. Thanks for being part of this this convening.
Well, I think that was just fantastic. We got some great feedback here, and it sounds like people are really people enjoyed it. We have one participant who says she combines Power for Parkinson's and Dance for PD for her go-to exercise classes, which is exciting. And I just, I think, all the information you gave us about dance, I think is really compelling. And I hope that a lot of you out there, if you haven't tried it, you'll certainly do it. And whether you join Nancy with us and you join Dance for PD, there's a lot available and can really brighten your world and help with your Parkinson's.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to emphasize that, we work really closely and support all of our colleagues who are doing exercise classes, fitness classes, boxing, Tai Chi, physical therapy, occupational therapy. It's, we really, I think, see ourselves as a team working to support you and nourish you and help you live and manage well. So again, it's not a like, should I do this or that? It's really about creating the right portfolio of activities for you. Dance has the gift of working really well and in a complementary way with many other forms of Parkinson's activity, exercise classes, boxing classes, Tai Chi, yoga, all kinds of it all works together. So I just want to say that because sometimes people are like, oh, do I have to do this or that? It's a both and sort of situation.
Yes, I think that's the best thing. Just doing as much as you can and do what is fun. And but this certainly is. And this was just fantastic. was great to see you and to have you
Great to see you too.
on. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to see what happens. So, and hopefully you can get back to in-person classes soon.
Yes, we hope so, and same for you too. Sounds like you're close, so that's good.
Yes.
But
You're
thank you so
welcome.
much,
Thanks so much, David.
Nancy. Thank you, Nina, and such a pleasure to be with you both.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody who's joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.